Welcome to panel session 2, contributing towards the development of arts and culture in Malaysia in line with Sustainable Development Goals. Just a very quick brief from me before I pass it to the speakers. United Nations declared 2021 as the International Year of Creative Economy for Sustainable Development, acknowledging that creative industries can help to foster positive externalities while preserving and promoting cultural heritage and diversity, as well as enhance developing countries' participation in and benefit from new and dynamic growth opportunities in world trade. The United Nations defines sustainable development as including such as zero poverty, zero hunger, good health, well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation, affordable and clean energy, and climate action, among other goals. The inclusion of creative economy is directly in reference to the UN's Transforming Our World, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and the place the creative industries is aligned to with the other economic sectors as a potential driver of transformative sustainability. In addition, the UN's declaration for 2021 quotes that recognizing the role of the creative economy in creating full and productive employment and decent work, supporting entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovation, encouraging the formalization and growth of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, stimulating innovation, empowering people, promoting social inclusion, and reducing poverty, is a quote from the United Nations General Assembly. The creative industries has often been perceived as having a soft economic role, tempered by their association with entertainment and pleasure. Do we need a more robust approach? So with that, we have our 4 speakers today. We have the first speaker, Mr. Rafi Haneef, Chief Executive Officer of Cimb Foundation. Mr. Rafi, if I could invite you to give your thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Neeti. I'm Rafi Hani from Cimb Group. I also look at Cimb Foundation. As Dr. Neeti pointed out earlier, the SDGs adopted by all UN member states back in 2015 have focused on a few key objectives, particularly ending poverty, as pointed out earlier, and to preserve the planet, and to ensure that we can all enjoy peace and prosperity, with the goals having targets to be completed by 2030. Specifically, there are 17 goals and 169 targets. And what transpired in 2015 was more focusing on the environment, the economy, and the social considerations. But what the countries are increasingly realizing is culture and heritage do play an important role. So although there are no main specific pillar on culture, heritage, but today we are seeing a lot more emphasis is being given on including culture and heritage as part of these development goals. Specifically, targets like 4.7, 8.3, 8.9, and 11.4 have all included some aspects of culture in delivering the goals. And recognizing the value of culture to the economic, environmental, and social well-being of the people and planet, today we are seeing countries promoting culture to achieve quality education under SDG 4, for example, expanding STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, to STEAM, to include arts in that perspective. We also are looking at promoting culture within achieving the gender equality target in SDG 5, sustainable cities, SDG 11. Part of the climate action, culture does play a role in terms of preserving the climate and the environment, SDG 13, and also part of the peace building process under SDG 16. And another point that was mentioned by Dr. Neeti earlier is the role of creative economy in reducing the inequality of opportunities that often lead to poverty and other social constraints. So what we are seeing now is creative economy is playing a more prominent role. Malaysia, for example, we find creative economy is contributing about 2% to the GDP, employing about 1 million people, about 5.7% of the employable population. Indonesia, on the other hand, has 7.4% of the GDP coming from creative economy across culinary, fashion, handicrafts, media, publications, architecture, and so on. And 14% of the employment is in creative economy. So certainly Indonesia has played a key role in terms of developing the creative economy. And I think this is where Malaysia can learn. And at a country level, building a strong national culture and heritage is really important for any country, particularly a country like Malaysia, which is multiracial and requires this social cohesion. And arts and culture does play a role. And the role of arts across various platforms, whether it's visual, music, plays, dances, movies, and now social media is playing a more prominent role in bringing these arts and culture alive. So role of arts in promoting a safe, just, and future-proof world is becoming more and more prominent. And culture promotes tolerance, diversity, freedom of expression, and these cultural activities strengthen social ties and boost social renewal and cohesion in a multiracial country like Malaysia. We are seeing, for example, traditional dances like lion dance, zapin, joget, najat, and so on, have been accepted by the societies, the various communities within the society we live in, and that brings the society together. And today we are seeing countries do use culture as a form of cultural diplomacy, where arts, culture, and heritage activities are used as a strategic tool to enhance bilateral relationship. And we have strong bilateral relationships with many countries. The prominent ones that we need to build more is China and India. And we have the cultural content to build this cultural diplomacy. And the third thing that I want to touch upon is the importance of having a private and public partnership to promote arts and culture. So the four constraints that we are seeing today is one is funding. Most of the artists, particularly, for example, those who are in visual arts, are not able to produce their artwork for lack of funding. Art supplies are very expensive and they don't have a steady income. Their artwork are taken on concessions by galleries, commercial galleries, and they only receive the funds once the artwork is sold after the gallery's commissions, which could be high in many instances. And there are also not enough competition to drive more productivity. Singapore has major competition, arts competition, paying the winners up to $10,000 US. And this creates more productivity for the community to produce more artwork. And finally, we need private sector sponsored art exhibition at major galleries. And this is where I think CIMB is distinguishing itself by promoting what we call the art event in the month of October. We are calling it CIMB Arttober. It's an arts, cultural, and heritage event to celebrate the cultural diversity that we have in Malaysia and to promote arts and culture, which is held in the month of October. This year, last year was the first maiden event held in October 2020, just after the first wave of the pandemic. And it was the first of its kind in collaboration with 10 prominent commercial art galleries. It was an event that promoted various art forms. And this year is the second year we are holding it. And this year is slightly different. We are collaborating with Cendana and Yayasan Hasana. We call it the tripart collaboration. This is the first public-private collaboration on arts, culture, and heritage. It's a 3-month-long event across October to December, working with 10 commercial art galleries and a curated digital content. So one of the other things that's lacking is we don't have enough digital platforms for artists to perform or to display their artwork for commercial purposes. Across 13 weekends, this October will be celebrated with 100 artists showcasing 300 artworks across various media, paintings, sculptures, and so on. And also there will be exciting art talks on these specific subjects. The second event is Hotel Art Fair. We have art exhibitions in Element KL and promote gallery hopping. So those who are having staycations in these hotels, one is Element KL and Four Seasons KL as well as Langkawi, they will be able to go for gallery hopping, and CIMB is promoting with a 15% discount on customers who are using CIMB debit or credit card to buy these art pieces. And there are 50 artists who will be displaying in these 9 galleries, and hotel rooms will be converted to mini galleries to help these artists to display their work. And the last one is Chandana is also having a campaign called Art in the City during this event. 9 key programs, 100 activities, focusing on creative economy, open art classes, traditional art platform, which we need to revive, handicrafts, product launches, and city festival. And Yayasan Hasana, another partner in this event, also is holding what we call Art for All Seasons to showcase various forms of arts, culture, and heritage. And they have 31 exciting public events. So this 3-month festival to celebrate arts, culture, and heritage through this tripart, what we call public-private partnership with Chandana, Yayasan Hasana, hopefully will be well received by not only the art lovers, but also the public at large, and hopefully will become an annual event eagerly awaited by all Malaysians, as well as tourists from all over the world. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mohammad, Rafi. Very inspiring. Lots of projects in the city. Maybe just one very quick question before I go to the next speaker about, it's very rich the way it's presented, especially the activities that CIMB has partnered or worked with quite a number of collaborators over here. How is the response to these activities or events that you have organized?
So it's been only 2 weeks now. So if you look at last year's response, given it was the maiden event and at that time we were just recovering from the first wave of the pandemic, it was heartwarming. There was a lot of response. It shows the pent-up demand for art lovers to come out and enjoy these events, as well as to support the artists who were struggling, because during the pandemic, it was a total shutdown. Their livelihoods were severely impacted. So this gives an opportunity for them to regain their position, to regain their commercial viability. And this year, with 3 months, I think it will be much more well received, hopefully. The last 2 weeks have been encouraging. And we hope with these kind of publicities, we'll be able to get more visibility, and hopefully more people will come and enjoy the various celebrations that we have planned for the remaining 2.5 months.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mr. Mohammad Rafi. We'll come back to you shortly. The next speaker is Izlyn Ramli, Director of Yayasan Telekom Malaysia. Izlyn, the floor is yours. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and congratulations to the organizers, and hi everybody. So as the new kid on the block, I came on board as Director of YTM only on the 1st of August. But the beauty of this is, and we're quite new in the tourism, culture, and heritage as a pillar. But what I wanted to bring forth in this panel today is, how are we thinking about approaching collaboration and making a more meaningful contribution to the sector? So when you see, we are part of TM Group, obviously, the largest telecommunications company, and our purpose is to enable digital Malaysia. That's what we're here for, because obviously our strengths, our core competencies are in increasing connectivity reach, and therefore digital opportunities for communities around Malaysia, including the culture economy. So there are 3 points that I wanted to bring forth in how we approach collaborations and making meaningful contributions, because as you rightly pointed out, in looking to sustainability and SDG and being socially responsible and being to connect and being and to resonate with the communities at large, we have to have a shared vision. So I would first of all start with, how do we align our shared purpose and visions? So for us, clearly, when we say that we are enabling digital Malaysia, you might think that the pillars that Yayasan TM supports, the 3 pillars of education, community, nation building, tourism, culture, and heritage, they may be broad, but within that broadness, we try to narrow it down to areas where we can really make a contribution because of digital opportunities. So it goes without saying, education, we've participated because of the digital, to bridge the digital divide in education all across primary, secondary, tertiary, especially now, right, with digital learning. With community and nation building, we're looking to build more resilient communities, including the arts community, the culture and arts community. And lastly, in tourism, culture, and heritage, may be random to everyone. Why is TM, a telecommunications company, involved in this? Because we have 4 key assets, museum, Telekom, and Menara KL, right in the heart of the city. And I'll touch on this a bit more in terms of illustrating where this alignment of vision and to our sustainability causes are. We are honored that Chandana and Josie Day Productions have come to us to start discussing how Museum Telekom will be part of the KL weekend at the end of November. This has provided us the perfect platform to restart and reactivate these beautiful heritage buildings as public spaces to engage for arts. So to give you an illustration, we hope to connect the dots between what we have in the TM group, which is our multimedia university, and our students who are in the faculties of creative multimedia as well as cinematic arts, for them to showcase digital art, visual, VR, gaming, short films, and we have had some great alumni as well. So we are integrating all that beautiful content and providing our students a place to showcase their works in already a place that's full of our telecommunications heritage, over 1,100 artifacts. And we also have TMR&D. So we're one of the few telecommunications groups that has this wider ecosystem that can support innovation and creativity. So we will be also showcasing some of the more consumer-friendly products. But that's not where we end. Obviously, in trying to reach out to communities, hopefully we'll be featuring some savant artists or gifted artists who can also sell their wares and crafts at the museum. So apart from that, we have a lovely courtyard. So like I said, this is the beginning of our journey, but I wanted to jumpstart that process, right? So my dream, and after being inspired by all things K-pop, and in Seoul, they have public performance areas where everyone can come and just literally busk their talent. And I envision that this place will be, an open space, free place for kids to come and show their talents, when safely, of course, with SOPs and all that. So that is one key way that we are connecting the dots between what we have and an asset, what makes sense to us from a strategic point of view, so that when I talk to my board and my shareholders, that it's not out of line, and yet have meaningful contribution to the communities that we serve. The other thing that we're doing this year, also coming off, is a young filmmaker competition. This one is a short film with the theme of Return Stronger, calling out to all ages of youth between 18 to 35. It not only just encourages competition, but provides master classes, workshops about the entire production system, the film producing system, the short films. And on top of that, then this is where the beauty of collaboration comes in. It also has tied in with another competition that takes it up another level. So the finalist from the young filmmaker will be considered as a finalist for Rasya Sutradara, which is run by K. Raman and the MCAG of MCET, Malaysia Cinematic Arts Guild, which stands to win a prize of 1 million ringgit in total for a full-length feature film. So we started off with young filmmakers, short films, 30 minutes or whatever it is, short films, and then winners of that have a chance to grow their dreams. And the other beautiful thing about it is that the organizers of that were alumni of previous competitions that we ran, who then won a scholarship to the MMU to do cinematic arts, who then founded his own company, is now giving back to the community. So this is what, when I say about alignment and sense of purpose, that's the first point that I wanted to bring to the fore. The second one is obvious. I think we want to be outcome based, but we don't want to be one-off. We want it to be sustainable. We don't want just to fund the outcome of the product, but perhaps be part of the process before. I think when we started talking about narrative storytelling, how do we make this collective storytelling of Malaysia have greater impact? It has to start from where the stories are unearthed and given more voice. We're not even talking about the new stories, but also in preserving the beautiful heritage of our older stories. You know, not many people know our hikayat. We have Putri Gunung Ledang, for instance, that actually made it into a musical and a movie. I would love to see that as an animation, a musical, you name it. And, you know, and we saw Raya, the animated movie that tried to confluence or, you know, mismatch all of Southeast Asia's culture into one animation. But that should be happening in different pockets as we preserve our tales going forward. So the second thing that I wanted to talk about was be outcome based, be part of the process, and be part of the development of that of the youth and talent that we have. Thirdly, of course, this is this is where the X factor comes in, is the fun part, right? The third one is the collaboration. We can't do it alone. We each and every one of us have our own strength to bring to the table. For Telekom Group and Yayasan TM, obviously it's our digital capabilities, connectivity, and digital opportunities. So at every collaboration that we get involved in, we would hope to find that differentiation in giving them that digital platform, and no other example has been greater than the COVID pandemic, right? Despite the challenges, despite the heartache, people found ways to come together online, made possible by connectivity, to give them a chance to still hone their skills and to showcase their skills and keep that alive, whilst perhaps, you know, furthering their skills in master classes, but also in other digital skills, perhaps, you know, in gig economy. So this is the three areas, but and the last one that I wanted to cover was that basically in doing all this, I really hope that we have the fun and energy to bring to the table as the vibrant Malaysian community that we have, to end on a more positive note. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Izlyn. Very motivating. Rich contribution to the area of arts and culture by Yayasan Telekom Malaysia. So I'll go to the next speakers, and later we'll come back with some question. Next speaker is Jacqueline Fong, founder of Tanoti Malaysia. Jacqueline, the virtual floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I am really honored to be in the presence of such esteemed panelists. We are Tanoti, and we are very small, and basically I'm speaking to you from the ground. I founded Tanoti, where our values or our objectives are to preserve heritage, to empower women, and to build rural communities. We are based in Sarawak. Our headquarters here, our operational headquarters is in Kuching, and we engage with more than 480 artisans throughout Sarawak, residing in rural and remote locations. The reason why we do this work in craft is that we believe craft or traditional handicraft is of very high levels with indigenous groups and in rural communities. And these are the exact locations where employment is very scarce. So if we can mobilize them with craft, there's a possibility that we can infuse an economy or inject funds or capital into resources into rural economies. And what we believe we're doing is nation building. We believe that it's very important that we harness these skills and allow craft artisans to monetize their skills, talents, and ancestral techniques. So this is what we've been doing. We started 9 years ago, and what we want to see is that our indigenous culture, Malaysia's indigenous culture, is actually the core of Malaysian culture, and we should not let it dissipate. Our issues are that with I'm so sorry to say, but with enhanced telecommunications, and more infrastructure going into rural economies, there is danger of a homogenized culture. And my interest is actually to stifle this, to allow indigenous culture to be owned by indigenous people, and for them to project them with pride. I hope we could get fellow panelists to be able to support me on this issue. It is not easy because when they watch TV, they are indigenous, but their content is actually not particularly relevant to them, and then they absorb the content and they absorb the culture. So what we are doing now with craft is even more difficult, because we need the artisans to feel pride and ownership for the things that they're making and the techniques that have been handed down from their mothers, their grandmothers, and the mothers before them. So yeah, so this is a little bit about what Tanoti does. We are very excited. I'm very excited to be in this forum, and look forward to discussions. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Jacqueline. I will quickly go to our next panelists before we open some questions. We have Lee Jia Peng, Chairperson of Place Making Malaysia. Jia Peng, your turn.
You. Thank you. So I would love to just acknowledge the great points that the panelists that I'm sharing this panel with. I love the fact that Mr. Rafe talked about partnerships as well as Izlyn, right? So the partnerships with, for KL Weekend, with Josidik, so we're also trying to bring Rotary into the fore to talk about audience development with the interactors. I mean, interactors are Form 3 to Form 5, and it's about breaking down the silos. I think too often we have created so specialized groups, right? SDG, there's 17. Nobody can remember all 17. But if you need to remember anything towards the arts, it's about 17, SDG 17, which is partnerships, SDG 11, which I work in, which is place and space, right? And SDG 3, which is good health and well-being. So this pandemic has created a huge trauma for a lot of people. I don't think they understand the depth of the trauma, and then they're still starting to process it. So we're talking with ministers and also hopefully some local councils as Place Making Malaysia. How do we create a space or a place where everybody can come and reconnect again with the outside world? I mean, now, people can't, before that, the last lockdown, people were squatting on the side of the road, eating their tapao because they had nowhere to go. I mean, I think that we have removed dignity from place, and we really need to bring back dignity. And I think the arts and the culture is one of the key criteria. Jacqueline talked about indigenous. I think we have done so much to kill the dignity of the indigenous people of Malaysia. And let's honor it, let's respect it. And one of the ways is, we talk about mental health. October 10th was Mental Health Day. How do we make sure that the city is a welcoming space? So when I was working in Think City, we had Kebun Bangsa. Kebun Bangsa was developed in collaboration with DBKL, Think City, as well as San and Friends of Kebun Bangsa. That became an oasis, right, where people could go to during the height of the pandemic so that they wouldn't go mad. And also then what Kebun Bangsa did, Izlyn talked about outcome. We're looking at impact 5 years down the road. And Kebun Bangsa 4 years down the road is sustainable. It doesn't need any more funding because it gets funding from the visitors. And it's made so much money in a sense that it can buy its own feed and pay its own gardeners. It can also donate 40,000 ringgit towards those who were starving during the pandemic. That's what I mean by impact. And you don't create impact by living in silos, by working in silos. Another very underrated part of the arts, Encik Ralph talked about STEAM. is arts and education, right? We talk about SDG 4, quality education. What quality of education is there when you remove the arts? I'm from BBGS, and the arts was integral to everything we did, right? It took shy people and shoved them in the stage and said, sorry, you have to speak, you have to perform. And I think a lot of my alumni now have no problems going on stage and speaking because we were trained from young, right? We talk about also well-being, SDG 4, arts in hospitals, artists as therapists. And when you go into hospitals, again, your dignity is removed because you have not your health. So the artists go in and say, we remind you and we bridge you to the real world by using our arts to create joy. So there is so many things we could do. Placemaking Malaysia has just judged Placemaking Awards ASEAN with Think City, and that's going to be in 11th of November announced. And that talks about how arts has helped enrich cities. Some of the entries were amazing. If you want something to think about how the arts has gone into creating new spaces and made them amazing, download this. It's a free source, and I'm going to put the address there. And I'm going to end there because I could go on for hours. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you so much, Japing. Very inspiring. Perhaps we just take maybe one or two questions because I was told that time is of essence. We need to knock off very quickly. One question that centers around the SDGs about poverty eradication and perhaps gender equality. I think these are issues that centers in the society, around the community, and I'm very sure that it also centers around the work that you do, right? So perhaps if any of you could share your thoughts on how you think we can play a role in this, representing your organizations. Thank you.
I can add a few points here. Like I said, I think the beauty about arts and culture, and I think it really has no inequality in gender. I think everyone comes on board across the different. That's the one thing I can be sure of. In terms of poverty eradication, as like I said, if you love your art and you have craft and you have opportunities to bring that to the world or to the markets that you need to reach, then we are on the way. So what we need to do as corporates and organizations that can help facilitate that kind of ecosystem is come on board to the table with those platforms and marketplaces to help that, because we're not going to solve it overnight. Like, you have to, the rod and the fish and all that. So it's the entire ecosystem of developing, giving them the platform to shine, and giving them platform to uplift their livelihoods.
Okay, thank you so much, Izlyn. A very good point. Can we move to maybe Jacqueline, since you work with indigenous people, your perspective?
I actually believe that what we do is relating to poverty eradication of economic poverty. A lot of the artisans we work with have access to a lot of resources, but now with commercialization, modernization, they need to have cash. And what we do now is to put cash on their hands. Very critical, obviously, because cash will buy them education, healthcare, and better quality of life. So we do work with artisans, and we do pursue the SDG 1, no poverty goal.
Okay, thank you, Jacqueline. We have a question from the audience. So maybe I'll read the question for the benefit of the other audience as well. I think the panel can also take a look at the question. My concern is over commercialization will result in overdevelopment and commodification of arts and crafts that may have impacts on the environment due to commercial consumption. My questions are, how do we reconcile arts and culture with the commercial demands? How do we engage arts and sustainable development beyond economic terms? So very difficult, challenging solution to find actually, but I will perhaps start with Mr. Rafi and followed by Japing.
I think the question of commoditizing arts, it's a subject that could be tackled if we look into the source itself. The source could be from renewable sources. So today, the technology has advanced to the extent where we could find sustainable sources to create more arts and crafts. But in general, we are talking about unique arts and crafts that are not commoditized. So whether it is visual arts or performance, the impact to the environment would be limited compared to many other commercialization that we are seeing in the non-creative economy. So today, the creative economy, as I mentioned earlier, is only contributing 2% of GDP. And in Indonesia, with a large population, is still 7%. Whether it is wooden arts or any other resources-based arts, they can be certainly produced through renewable sources. So that's the way forward.
All right, very interesting perspective, Mr. Rafi.
Can I just say that, you know, there's two types of arts. There's the arts that everybody has jumped on the bandwagon, like murals, right? Everybody's now doing murals, but murals is just one part. The arts is multivarious. And so one of the things that you must understand is if there are any corporate people out there, if you have any budget, stop asking artists for discounts or free work. The first thing you need to do is don't talk about over commercializing. Talk about survival of your artists who need money and to be paid for their work, right? That's one. Stop. If you can use music from a local artist, pay the local artist to commission fresh work for even on the phone when you're putting someone on hold. Use Malaysian artists, right? We are on the brink of extinction. Right, you know, we've lost a lot of artists to making food, cooking, and things like that. We need to bring them back and to say, you are welcome. We love you. You're not just something we tick in the box. Oh, because you help tourism. I mean, please, can we just really start putting our money where our mouth is and just start supporting the arts? That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. I think we have come to the end of the session. I would like to thank all the panel speakers as well as the organizers for these wonderful opportunities. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.